Nigo moved on her tiptoes, holding her small lantern with both hands. The flame shook the same way her hands shook. The room she had entered was dark, cold, and silent. This was the room her grandmother had warned her about since she was a child. "Never go near that room," her grandmother always said. "If you value your life, stay away." Nigo gently closed the door behind her, her heart beating so loud she feared it would betray her. She slowly looked around. The air smelled old, like dust and forgotten tears. Cobwebs hung in the corners, and the walls looked cracked, as if they had heard too many secrets. In the middle of the room stood a tall mirror, dusty and dull, leaning slightly like it was tired of standing. Nigo swallowed hard. She had only come because something kept pulling her there, like an invisible hand. Then suddenly she heard her name. Nigo. The voice was weak, broken, yet familiar. Nigo froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Slowly she turned around, and what she saw made her gasp. Inside the mirror was a woman. The woman looked thin, tired, and weak. Her hair was rough and unkempt, her eyes sunken like someone who had cried for many years. Nigo almost screamed. She turned to run, but the woman called her name again. "Nigo, please don't run." Nigo's legs shook so badly she nearly fell. The lantern almost slipped from Nigo's hand as she stared at the mirror. Her whole body trembled. Memories rushed into her head. Her grandmother's warnings, her harsh voice, her angry eyes whenever Nigo asked questions about her mother. Slowly, Nigo took a step closer to the mirror, then another. The woman inside the mirror pressed her palms against the glass like she wanted to come out. Tears ran down her face. "It's me," the woman said again, her voice breaking. Nigo raised the lantern higher and looked closely. The woman's face looked familiar, painfully familiar. Her nose, her eyes, her smile, even in tears. Nigo's lips shook. "Mama," she whispered. Her voice came out like a broken breath. "Mama," she called again, louder this time. The woman nodded again and again, crying harder. "Yes, my baby. It's me, your mama." Nigo's knees weakened. She dropped to the floor, still staring at the mirror. But you are dead," Nigo cried. "They said you died when I was small." The woman shook her head slowly. "I am not dead," she said. "I am alive. I have been alive all these years." She sniffed and wiped her tears. "Oh, my Nigo, you have grown so much. I have watched you grow from here. I have watched you suffer." Nigo felt her chest tighten. Nothing made sense. Her head spun. Her mother was dead. That was what everyone said. So why was she here? Why was she trapped inside a mirror? Nigo hugged herself tightly, trying to stop the shaking. "Mama, why are you appearing to me?" she asked in a small voice. "Is this a dream? Am I asleep?" Tears streamed down her face. The woman in the mirror shook her head quickly. "No, my child, this is not a dream. I am not a ghost." She leaned closer to the glass. "Your grandmother did this to me. Your father's mother." Nigo's eyes widened in shock. "Trapped you?" Nigo whispered. "How?" The woman opened her mouth to speak, but before she could finish, footsteps sounded outside the hut. Heavy footsteps, slow but firm. Nigo's blood ran cold. She knew those footsteps. The voice followed soon after. Nigo. Her grandmother was calling her name. The woman in the mirror gasped. Fear filled her eyes. "Go," she whispered urgently. "Go now. Do not let her see you here." Nigo stood up quickly. "I will come back," she whispered. "I promise." She ran out of the room, locked the door with shaking hands, and jumped out through the small back window of the hut. She landed on the ground and ran towards the main hut, her heart pounding like a drum. Behind her, her grandmother's voice grew closer. "Nigo, where are you?" The old woman reached the hut and raised her lantern to the forbidden room's door. It was locked. Her eyes narrowed. "Then where is she?" she muttered. "And where is the key?" The old woman turned and walked back to the main hut. Nigo had already slipped inside and lay on her mat pretending to sleep. Moments later, the door flew open. Her grandmother stormed in and kicked her lightly. "Where have you been?" she demanded. Nigo jumped up, acting confused. "I went to the toilet," she said quickly. The old woman stared at her for a long moment, her sharp eyes searching Nigo's face. "Did you see any key?" she asked. Nigo shook her head slowly. "No, Grandma." The old woman grunted and walked out. Nigo sat up, hugging her knees. Her whole body still shook. "Was that really Mama?" she thought. But they said Mama was dead. Her mind replayed the woman's tired eyes and broken voice. Sleep refused to come. She sat there for hours, listening to every sound. Then, very late in the night, she heard footsteps again. Quiet ones this time. She slowly stood up and peeped through the window. Her heart dropped. It was her grandmother. The old woman was carrying a plate of food and a lantern. She was walking towards the old hut. Nigo felt fear twist inside her. She quietly opened the back door and followed her, hiding behind trees and walls. The old woman did not see her. Nigo watched as her grandmother opened the door to the forbidden hut and went inside. Nigo crept closer and peeped through the cracked window. Inside, her grandmother placed the plate of food on the floor in front of the mirror. The woman inside the mirror looked at the food but did not touch it. "If you like, eat. If you like, don't eat," the old woman said coldly. The woman in the mirror fell to her knees. "Please," she begged. "Please let me go. I am tired. I have been here for 20 years. Her voice echoed with pain. Tears streamed down her face. Nigo covered her mouth with both hands to stop herself from crying out. The old woman laughed softly, a sound that made Nigo's skin crawl. "You will stay there till you die," she said. "That is your punishment." She turned and walked out of the hut. Nigo quickly hid behind the wall. Suddenly, the old woman stopped and raised her lantern. "Who is there?" she asked sharply. She looked around, her eyes scanning the darkness. Nigo held her breath. After a moment, the old woman walked back to the main hut. Nigo waited, then ran back to her room as fast as her legs could carry her. Nigo lay down again, pretending to sleep. Minutes later, her grandmother entered, checked her, and sighed before leaving. When the door closed, Nigo opened her eyes. Tears soaked her mat. Her heart felt heavy with fear, anger, and pain. Everything she believed was a lie. Her mother was alive, trapped, suffering. And the person she trusted the most was the one who did it. Nigo stared at the ceiling, her mind racing. Why did Grandma trap Mama? She wondered. What was she trying to hide? The woman in the mirror had tried to say something before being interrupted. Nigo clenched her fists. Whatever that unfinished message was, it must be important, very important. Nigo knew one thing. She could not ignore what she had seen. She could not pretend anymore. But how could a poor village girl fight a woman who had controlled everything for years? As fear battled with courage in her heart, Nigo slowly closed her eyes, knowing that the next step she would take could change everything and put her in great danger. The next morning came with a light drizzle. The sky was grey and the air felt cold and heavy. Nigo's grandmother was already in the kitchen, stirring something in a pot. Nigo walked slowly toward the kitchen, carrying dirty plates to wash. Her steps were weak. Her eyes looked dull. She was no longer the same girl from before. Fear had entered her heart, and it refused to leave. As she walked, her eyes moved on their own toward the old hut. The moment she realized it, she quickly looked away, like the hut could see her thoughts. Her heart beat faster. How did Grandma do such a thing, she wondered. How can someone trap another human being inside a mirror? Her mind was full of questions. What did Mama do to deserve this? Is Grandma a witch? The thoughts scared her. Her grandmother suddenly looked at her and frowned. "Why are you looking like someone who lost something?" she asked. Nigo forced her lips to move. "Nothing," she replied quietly. The old woman snorted. "That's your business," she said, and turned back to the pot. Her voice was cold, empty of care. Nigo felt a sting in her chest. She washed the plates slowly, her hands shaking, water splashing everywhere. She felt like crying, but she swallowed her tears. Crying here was dangerous. Later, Nigo sat alone in her small room with a plate of food in front of her. The food smelled good, but she could not eat. Her throat felt tight, like something was blocking it. Tears dropped into the food one after the other. She pushed the plate away and stood up. She walked to the window and looked toward the old hut again. The hut stood there quietly, like nothing wrong had ever happened inside it. She turned away and sat back down. Her heart was restless. "So Mama has been here all this time," she thought. "Suffering, crying, watching me grow." The thought broke her heart. Then what about Father, she wondered. Does he know? Or was he lied to too? Her father had remarried long ago. He lived in the city now with his new family. Nigo had been sent to the village to stay with her grandmother, and no one ever asked her how she felt. If Father knows Mama is alive, would he allow this? She asked herself. Or does he believe she is dead like everyone else? Her head ached from too many questions. She held her head with both hands. "Who do I tell?" she whispered. "Who will help me save Mama?" The walls gave no answer. The room felt too small, too quiet. Nigo stood up again, paced around, sat down, stood again. She could not rest. Fear and anger fought inside her chest. That afternoon, when her grandmother was busy outside, Nigo quietly left the house. She did not look back. She ran until her chest burned and her legs felt weak. She stopped in front of Uduak's house. Uduak was a fresh graduate of a university and her friend. He was kind and always noticed when something was wrong. The moment he saw her, he knew. Her hands shook. Her eyes moved around like she was being chased. Uduak did not ask questions at first. He took her hand and led her away from the houses toward the farm road. They sat under a big tree. Uduak looked at her face carefully. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. "Did your grandmother beat you again?" His voice changed, full of anger. "Why does she treat you like you are not her blood?" Nigo shook her head quickly. "No, she didn't beat me," she said. She looked down at her feet. Uduak waited. Nigo lifted her face slowly. "Uduak!" she called. He answered immediately. "Yes?" She swallowed hard. "Have you ever heard a story where someone was trapped inside a mirror?" The question hung in the air. Uduak's eyes widened. "A human?" he asked. "Inside a mirror?" Nigo nodded slowly. Uduak shook his head. "No, I have never heard such a thing before." Nigo opened her mouth. I saw." Before she could finish, a loud voice called her name from far away. It was a young lady from the village. "Nigo!" she shouted. "Your grandmother said you should hold your ears and run home now." Fear rushed through Nigo's body. She jumped up. "I have to go," she said quickly. "We will talk later." She ran away without looking back. Uduak remained there, confused, watching her disappear. That night, Nigo did not sleep. Her eyes burned, but she refused to close them. She lay on her mat, listening to every sound. The night felt long and thick. She cried quietly, covering her mouth so no one would hear her. From time to time, she stood up and peeped through the window. The village was silent. Then, exactly at midnight, she saw movement. Her grandmother's door opened slowly. The old woman came out holding a plate of food and a lantern. Nigo's heart jumped. Again, she thought. Nigo waited until her grandmother was far ahead, then quietly opened the back door and stepped outside. She followed slowly, hiding behind trees and shadows. Her feet were cold, but she did not care. She reached the old hut and stood by the window, peeping inside. Her grandmother entered and dropped the plate before the mirror. The woman in the mirror appeared, her face tired, her eyes full of pain. "Please," the woman begged, "please let me go. Your son is married now. He is living his life. I need to be with my child again." Her voice shook. "I need to hold her, please." Nigo's heart broke. She pressed her hand to her mouth to stop herself from crying out. Her grandmother's face did not change. She looked at the mirror with cold eyes. "You will remain there forever," she said flatly. "Forever." The words felt heavy. They filled the room like poison. The woman in the mirror fell to her knees, crying harder. Nigo felt like running inside, like screaming, like attacking her grandmother. But fear held her feet to the ground. The old woman turned and walked out of the hut. Nigo quickly moved away from the window and hid. Her grandmother raised her lantern and looked around slowly. "Who is there?" she asked. Her voice was sharp. Nigo's heart almost stopped. She stayed still, barely breathing. After a long moment, the old woman lowered the lantern and walked away. Nigo waited until she was gone. Then she ran. She ran back to the house, entered her room, and fell on her knees. Tears poured out freely now. Her body shook as she cried. She pressed her forehead to the floor. "Mama," she whispered, "I will not leave you there." Her heart was full of fear, but something else was growing too. Determination. A quiet, dangerous determination. Nigo stayed on her knees for a long time. Her tears soaked the floor. Her mind replayed everything she had seen and heard. The way her grandmother spoke, the way her mother begged, the way no one else knew. She slowly stood up and sat on her mat, hugging her legs to her chest. "I am alone," she thought, "but I cannot pretend any more. Her grandmother was powerful in ways she did not understand." The village feared her. People avoided her questions. Nigo was just a young girl, poor, afraid. But her mother was suffering, trapped, forgotten. Nigo wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "If I keep quiet," she thought, "Mama will remain there forever." Her heart beat fast as ideas rushed through her head. Should I tell father? Should I tell Uduak? Can anyone even believe me? Outside, the wind blew gently again, brushing against the hut like a warning. Nigo lay down slowly, her eyes wide open. Sleep refused to come. She stared into the darkness, knowing that the secret she carried was heavy and dangerous. And the next move she made could either save her mother or destroy her. The following day came, and then another, and then a few more days passed. Nigo did not step out of the house at all. Fear glued her to the walls of the hut. Every time she heard her grandmother clear her throat, her heart jumped. Every time the old woman called her name, her body stiffened. Nigo wanted badly to run to Uduak and tell him everything. Her chest burned with the secret she was carrying, but she was afraid. Afraid her grandmother would sense something. Afraid someone would hear her. Afraid the old woman would punish her in a way she could not escape from. She moved around the house quietly, like a shadow. She spoke less, she ate less. Her eyes were always tired. At night, she barely slept. Her grandmother noticed her silence but said nothing. One morning, after breakfast was ready, Nigo sat before her plate and stared at it. Her hands rested on her laps, but she could not lift the food to her mouth. Her grandmother watched her closely. "You are not eating again," the old woman said. Nigo shook her head slowly. "I'm not hungry," she replied. Normally, Nigo was the one who went to the market every morning. But that morning, her grandmother surprised her. "I will go to the market today," she said. Nigo's heart jumped with joy, but she hid it quickly. She only nodded and said, "Okay." Inside her, happiness rushed like water. She waited patiently, watching her grandmother prepare to leave. When the old woman finally stepped out and disappeared down the path, Nigo stood still for a moment, listening. When she was sure she was alone, she ran to the old hut, but the door was locked. She dashed into her grandmother's room. Her heart beat wildly in her chest. She looked around quickly, afraid the walls themselves might speak. She began to search under the mat, behind the clay pots, inside old bowls. Her hands shook so badly she could barely move things. Sweat rolled down her face. "Calm down," she whispered to herself. She paused, closed her eyes, and breathed in and out slowly, just like she had once seen someone do. Then she continued. Her fingers knocked over a cup under the bed, and something fell out. A small metal key. Nigo froze. Her eyes widened. Slowly she picked it up. Her fingers trembled around it. "This is it," she whispered. She did not waste time. She ran out of the room, locked the door behind her, and hurried toward the old hut. The hut looked the same as always, quiet and innocent from the outside. Nigo's legs felt weak as she reached the door. She pushed the key into the lock. It turned easily. The door creaked open. She rushed inside and opened the forbidden room. The mirror stood there, silent and empty. Nigo's heart sank. "Mama?" she called softly. No answer. Fear gripped her chest. "Mama!" she called again, louder this time. Then slowly, like smoke forming, the woman appeared in the mirror. Nigo fell on her knees and grabbed the mirror tightly. Tears poured from her eyes. "Mama!" She cried, smiling and crying at the same time. "My baby," the woman said, tears rolling down her cheeks as she placed her hands on the mirror. Their palms met through the glass. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They just cried. Then Nigo wiped her face. "Mama!" she said, her voice shaking. "They told me you were dead." The woman shook her head sadly. "No, my child, I am not dead." Nigo swallowed hard. "Does father know you are here?" she asked. The woman looked away for a moment, then nodded slowly. "He does," she said. Nigo felt like the ground had opened beneath her. "What?" she exclaimed. "He knows!" Her mother sighed deeply, like someone carrying a heavy load. "Listen to me," she said. "I was a well-known fabric seller in the city. I travelled to many countries to buy fabrics. I worked hard. I built houses. Your father was not working at that time, but his mother believed it was his money I was spending." She paused, tears filling her eyes again. We did not tell her the truth, that I was the one providing everything. When she finally found out, she became angry. One morning, your father told me we should visit his mother because she was sick. When we arrived, I realized it was a lie. The woman's voice broke. I demanded an explanation. Instead, they brought me in here. Nigo's hands clenched. They trapped you? She whispered. The woman nodded. Both of them did it. Your father said a woman should not have more money than a man. They trapped me in this mirror to take everything I owned. She broke down completely, crying uncontrollably. Nigo felt anger burn inside her like fire. Does anyone know? Nigo asked quietly. Does your family know what happened to you? Her mother shook her head slowly. I don't know what they told them, she replied. Maybe, they said, I ran mad. Maybe, they said, I died. Nigo wiped her tears angrily. I will get you out of here, she said firmly. I promise. Her mother looked at her with fear and love mixed together. Please, she said, do not do anything that will put you in danger. Leave me here. One day, God will remember me. Nigo shook her head stubbornly. No, she said. I cannot leave you here. She paused, then asked, Mama, are you hungry? I see her dropping food every night. Her mother nodded. When she drops it, it appears inside here, she explained. Without thinking, Nigo ran out of the room and brought her plate of food. She placed it before the mirror. Suddenly, the plate disappeared from the floor and appeared inside the mirror. Nigo gasped. Tears streamed down her face. Mama, she cried. Her mother ate quickly, like someone who had been hungry for a long time. When she finished, the empty plate appeared back on the floor. Nigo sobbed loudly now. I will get you out, she repeated. They talked quietly for a few more minutes. Nigo listened to her mother's voice like it was something precious she might lose again. Then Nigo stood up slowly. Mama, she said, holding the mirror one last time. I need to go. I need to see someone. I will be back. Her mother nodded. Please be careful, she said. Nigo wiped her face, picked up the empty plate, and stepped out of the room. She locked the door carefully and returned the key to the cup under her grandmother's bed, just the way she found it. Her heart pounded the whole time. When she was done, she did not stop. She ran out of the house and ran toward Uduak's place. Her feet barely touched the ground. Her chest burned. Her mind raced. He must know, she thought. Someone must know. She reached Uduak's house, breathing heavily, and knocked hard. Uduak opened the door and froze when he saw her face. Her eyes were red. Her clothes were dusty. Nigo, he called. She grabbed his hand. I need to talk to you, she said urgently. Please. Uduak nodded and pulled her inside quickly. They did not sit in the house. Uduak led her out again toward the farm road to the same tree where they had sat before. Nigo could barely speak at first. Her whole body shook. Uduak watched her closely, worry written all over his face. What is it? He asked. What did you see? Nigo opened her mouth, then closed it again. She looked around, making sure no one was near. What I am about to tell you, she said slowly, must not leave this place. Uduak nodded seriously. I promise. Nigo took a deep breath. Her heart beat loudly in her ears. My mother is alive, she said. She is trapped in a mirror, in the old hut. Uduak's eyes widened in shock. His mouth fell open. What? He whispered. Nigo nodded, tears falling again. I have seen her. I have spoken to her. Uduak stood up slowly. Are you sure about this? he asked, and Nigo nodded. By who? He asked again. My grandmother, Nigo said in tears. This is not normal, he said. This is dangerous. Nigo grabbed his arm. I know, she said, but I cannot leave her there. Uduak looked at her, fear and determination fighting in his eyes. We need to think, he said quietly. We need to be careful. Uduak suddenly stopped talking and looked around carefully. His eyes moved from the trees to the road, then back to Nigo. Let's go, he whispered urgently. Nigo did not ask questions. They both hurried down the path, their hearts beating fast. When they reached Nigo's compound, Nigo ran ahead and brought out the key she had hidden. Her hands shook as she unlocked the old hut. Inside, the mirror stood quietly. The woman was there, her eyes full of fear and hope at the same time. The moment Uduak saw her clearly, he froze. His mouth opened, but no words came out. He did not ask questions. He did not doubt. Tears filled his eyes as he realized this was real. He and Nigo walked slowly around the mirror, both crying. The woman inside the mirror looked confused, her hands pressed against the glass. Suddenly, Nigo heard her name. Nigo. Her blood turned cold. It was her grandmother's voice. It was close, very close. Nigo raised her finger quickly, signaling Uduak not to speak. Fear wrapped around them like a tight rope. The voice grew louder as footsteps approached the hut. Without thinking, Nigo and Uduak rushed out of the room, locked the door quickly, and jumped out through the back window of the old hut. They landed hard on the ground, but they did not stop running. Nigo held the key tightly in her hand. Uduak did not return to his house. He ran straight to the next village, his legs aching, his breath short. He reached the house of a native doctor and explained everything in a shaking voice. The man listened quietly, his face serious. After a long silence, he nodded slowly. The mirror must be broken, he said, but you must touch it with this first. He gave Uduak something to rub on his palms. When you touch the mirror, the hold on it will break. Uduak thanked him and ran back, his heart full of fear and hope. That night, when the village was silent, Uduak sneaked into Nigo's compound. He went quietly to her window and whispered her name. Nigo stood up immediately. She came outside and Uduak told her everything the native doctor had said. Nigo did not hesitate. She crept to her grandmother's room and locked the door from outside while the old woman slept, unaware of what was happening. Her hands shook, but she did not stop. She ran back to Uduak, and together they hurried to the old hut again. They unlocked the door, the key was still with her, and entered the forbidden room. The mirror stood there, waiting. Uduak rubbed his palms and placed his hands on the mirror. Then slowly, carefully, he pushed it. The mirror fell and shattered on the floor. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the woman slipped out of the broken mirror and fell to the ground. She was weak and shaking. Nigo screamed and rushed forward, holding her mother tightly. "Mama!" she cried. "Mama, you're free!" They hugged each other tightly, crying like children. Uduak stood there, shocked and relieved, thanking God silently. They did not stay long. Fear pushed them to move quickly. They helped the woman stand and hurried out of the hut. The night air felt different, lighter. They ran far away from the hut, not looking back. Nigo supported her mother, who could barely walk. Uduak stayed close, watching the road. They reached the park and found a night bus heading to the city. Uduak gave them some money from his pocket. "It's not much," he said gently. Nigo held his hands tightly. "I will never forget you," she said through tears. Her mother thanked him again and again. The bus moved, carrying them away from the village and from years of pain. Nigo looked through the window until Uduak disappeared from sight. They arrived in the city early in the morning. The streets were waking up. The woman closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "I still remember my family house," she said. They took a vehicle and reached a large house with a big gate. They knocked. A security guard opened the gate and looked at them. "Who are you looking for?" he asked. The woman called a name. The guard went inside and returned with another woman who looked sleepy and surprised. When she saw Nigo's mother, she froze. Her eyes widened. "Is it really you?" she cried. She rushed forward and hugged her tightly. "Where have you been all these years? We searched everywhere for you," she asked, crying. "It is a long story," Nigo's mother replied. She pointed at Nigo. "This is my daughter, Nigo." The woman gasped and hugged Nigo too in tears. That same morning they went with officers to Nigo's father's house. When he saw Nigo's mother standing in the living room, he dropped to his knees in shock. "How did you do it?" he asked, crying. Nigo's mother looked at him with anger and pain. She asked the officers to arrest him. "You were living well with my money," she said, "while my daughter was suffering in the village." The man begged, but he was taken away and his family was sent out of the house. Days later, news spread that Nigo's grandmother had died alone in her room. Nigo felt many emotions, but she did not celebrate. Her heart felt calm instead. Her mother slowly regained her strength. They moved into one of her houses. Nigo started school smiling again. Her mother started her business afresh after collecting everything she owned, stronger than before. She sent a message to Uduak, inviting him to the city. When Uduak arrived, he could not believe his eyes. The houses, the cars, the life around them, it all shocked him. Nigo's mother thanked him openly and chose him as her personal assistant. Uduak worked hard, learning and growing. Years passed. Nigo finished school. Life became brighter. One day, under a clear sky, Nigo and Uduak wedded in a grand ceremony, surrounded by joy and laughter. The girl who once lived in fear now smiled freely, holding the hand of the boy who believed her when no one else did. Nigo's story became a quiet lesson to those who heard it. Power used wrongly always destroys the one who holds it. Greed can blind people, even family, and lead them to do terrible things. But courage, truth, and kindness have a way of breaking even the strongest chains. Nigo chose to speak, to act, and to trust the right person. Uduak chose to help, even when it was dangerous. And in the end, truth came to light. The moral of this story is simple. No matter how long evil hides, it will be exposed one day. Kindness and bravery may look small, but they are powerful. And when you stand for what is right, even fear will step aside and let justice walk through. Who was more wicked in this story, the father or the grandmother? Please leave your answer in the comments. This is Storyline Africa. Thank you so much for watching.